Hey, what's up? So this is the current state we have. We installed Django and initialized the project, and we created our requirement.txt to freeze our dependencies. So any other developer checking out the code can understand what versions we have and can install them and just run the code. Now to continue, in this video I will create or I will implement JWT authentication. To make things fast, I'm going to use very good library, Django-rest framework. Usually when you use framework, you'll use this one as well. So let me show you how to install it. Go to the home page, installation. You need to run pip install Django-rest framework. So let's do that. Make sure you activated your virtual environment. And to do this in Windows, VNV, then scripts, then activate. That's it. In Mac or Linux, source VNV binary activate, like this. VNV binary activate. Okay. To deactivate it, deactivate like this and hit enter. But now let's actually install that. So python -pip install Django-rest framework, and the second thing we need to install, if you go to authentication in the Django-rest framework documentation, you will see it pointing you out to this package called django-rest-framework-simplejwt. So Django-rest framework actually contain an authentication like module or package that you can install, or sometimes it's built in. So this is the authentication. These are all the types, like basic authentication, token authentication. What also? I think they have also session authentication, custom. These are the third party. We are gonna use the JWT JSON token. So it will point to here. So let's install it. So Django-rest framework, simple JWT, Python. You can see this. So python -m pip install Django-rest framework JWT. So let's now freeze our dependencies. Freeze requirement.txt, and okay. We need always to do this when you install anything or update versions. Yeah, it's obvious, but I'm gonna say it. Let's return here to the installation for the Django-rest framework. First thing, after you install this, you need to put it inside your installed apps. If you did not put this, some things won't work correctly. So remember, you need always to install this. To do this, usually when you install a package, you will put its app inside your installed apps, like this. And this is basically it for now. So let's continue to the documentation for the JWT Django-rest framework. Inside your settings, you need to define this global variable REST framework. And if you noticed here, actually, I think you know this, but all of these variables are for configuring this Django project. As you can see, here's the databases. The default database is this one here. As you can see, it's SQLite. That's why in the previous video, when we run the server, you seen like, or we have seen this SQLite database appear. I actually deleted it. It's here, as you can see. I'm gonna delete it again. So yeah, this is the database. This is the URL or the root URLs. It's pointing to this API.url. So this is the starting point or the entry point to our app. Yeah, these are installed apps. So this is basically the configuration. So we need to add this dictionary, and inside of it, this, which is a set containing this string. This is the default class. You can override that, of course. And after this, you're almost done. You need to define your routes. So let's go to our entry point here, paste this, and paste these two there. This one is for getting the token, which means login, and this one for refreshing the token. So let's actually go to our browser. First thing, we need to run the server and check that out. So Python manage.py run server. it gives us this error that, hey, you have unapplied migrations. We will come into that in a second. I'm gonna copy paste this, come here. So first thing you will notice, previously when we hit this URL, we would get this rocket logo. This is because by default, if you did not do anything, or if you did not add any extra URLs here, like this, you will only have the default one. Go hit refresh, you will see this home page, like, hey, everything works successfully. But at the moment you start putting stuff, this will stop working. It doesn't matter, it's really fine. So this is the URL that we need to test. This is like the login URL. We will change that, of course. But as you can see, the Django-rest framework will actually give us like a visualization of what this route expects you to do. So first thing, it will give us, hey, the GET request is not allowed here, which means we only have POST, as you can see from this. And to authenticate our user, we need to send username and password. We need, of course, to change this to email. To do this, we need to override our user class. So before going into that, where is our user class, right? Because we don't have any models. And if you go to our settings, go to installed apps, these are the apps that comes by default with Django, and some of them contain models, and model is a representation of tables in the database. Okay, and inside the auth app, we have our users model, which represents the user model, the user table in the database. And let me prove that to you. Go to inside your virtual environment, go to library, site packages, then go to Django, go to contrib, then go to auth. As you can see, this is the actual path. Here you will open your models file and search class user. This is the actual model that will be migrated into the database. And you can think this class represents the actual table we will have. And since we have it inside our installed apps, we can actually migrate this into the database. And I will show you that in a second. And this actually extends this. And as you can see, these are the fields. We have username, email field, and all of these fields as well. So let me show you another thing, which is something we'll build up to the end result we will have in this video. So if you run Python manage show migrations, these are all the things that we should run to make our app run properly. These are all the models or the models and their changes as a files that will be like reflected into the database. So for example, this initial migration will create the user model as a table in the database. This one will alter the email max link. This one will alter the username, these OPTs. This will, no idea what OPTs mean, but yeah, I think you get the idea. Each migration is a change to our database. And yeah, basically, let me just explain this in very high overview. We have something called ORM, which stands for Object Relational Mappers. And these are basically classes that represents tables in the database. And each time you create a class that represents a table, you need to create a migration for it and then run it in the database, on the database. Okay? So for example, hey, I will create this users class that represents the users table in the database. I will add ID, name, email. I will create a migration, put this migration to the database to convert this class into table in the database. And why we do this? Because by default, we don't have version control over our database. You see this get like integrated tool. We don't have something like this for the database. So migrations will actually give us a history and a change log over our database. Hey, the first time you added this table, the second time you changed the database, you altered something in the database. You altered this permission name. The last time you altered the username max length. Stuff like that. So basically migrations are just history to what happened in your database. I hope this was clear. Yeah. Migrations are just a history log for everything that happened in your database. If you don't have them, it will be very hard to understand who actually added this change and why they added them. Migrations will simplify your life, even if they sounded very confusing, and will save you a lot, because I have some cases where someone will actually modify something in the database and no one will know, and it will cause some bugs. No one will know. We are searching in the code, but we should not search that. We should search in the database, but no one actually know that someone modified the database because we don't have a migration for it. So this is the best way to modify your database and keep history of that. So you can, for example, hey, this change introduced some issue, I can just roll it back. So yeah, it's like a version control for the database. Okay, I think I talked enough about that. So these are the migrations that we can run, and just like I showed you, for example, this app has this user model, which we should run migration to put it in the database. So let me run a migration, all these migrations. Okay, so Python managed run migrations. Oops, Python run migrations like this. Sorry, it's migrate. Migrate will run the migrations. As you can see, everything went fine. So, and everything will be added inside this SQLite, db.sqlite. So let's open that. I'll be using db-ever. I highly recommend that you check this tool out. It connects to almost every database I know, and it's really nice. So forget about this. To connect with it, let me first increase the font size or the screen size, so you can see. You will click this and choose SQLite. Next, you need to browse to find that correct version, and it's this one here, because I already recorded this video and this is the third time. And hit finish. You will see it here. I'm gonna rename it Django React YouTube full stack. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So expand that. Here is the tables. Click on ER diagram. So you can see them here, or you can see an ER diagram, which is very effective and nice. So I think this is enough. So this is the actual users table. It's called auth_user, and this is a common thing or common theme in Django. You will see the name of the table represents where this table comes from. So this has come from the auth app, and the table name is user, or the class name is user. For example, this comes from the auth user, then user permissions, stuff like this. Yeah, we can actually show you. So Django, go to auth. So here, then go auth. You should see all of these here. So what is the models? Permissions. Yeah, it is like the permissions model, stuff like this. Yeah, anyway, so this is the default database. It will be migrated, and this actually try to now to log in using a user that we will be inserting here. To create a user, the fastest way currently we have, in the current state we have in our app, is using this command called create superuser. So Python, let me first return the screen so you can see probably. Okay, manage, then create super user. The super user is a user that has access to the CMS, the content management system provided by Django by default. So I think you know this, but any model you create, you can add it inside this content management, and any admin can modify the content for that model, which is very powerful. And it works with relation and any other stuff. So I'll put my name. Oops. I will put my name like this. Email test@test.com. Secret. It tells us the secret is weak. Bypass it. Hit yes to bypass that. So we have this user. Let's now log in using this route that we defined using the JWT. So We need to give it the username. Mine was rewards. The password is secret. Now post. Boom. We have our refresh JWT token and access token. So let's actually copy the access token and go to JWT.io. Here is everything inside of it. We will modify that, of course. We need the email, the ID, and yeah, we will modify that, of course. But now to end this video, we need to change this to email, right? So I'll make it very quick. First thing, remember that this user table or this user step, yeah, this user tables that we are using comes from the built-in user module. We need to override that. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just close the beaver, click no, don't save anything, and I'm gonna stop the server, and I'm gonna delete the database because I don't want to face any issues. I'm gonna start from scratch. Okay. So first thing, I need to create an app that will override, inside of it, I will override the default user's model. So Python manage.py start app. Remember, Django project split it down to multiple apps. My app will be called user. So I create, here it is. So first thing, let's register this app here, and that's it. As you can see from the root, it's called user, and here it is. And the second thing we need to do is to tell Django, hey, use the default or override the default user model with my custom user model. And to do this, let's scroll down. We need to give it like a global configuration variable. It's called auth_user model. So when a Django runs, it will look inside this file and pick up these variables and override stuff based on these variables. Okay. So where is this? Where is this custom user module? It's inside our user app, which we registered here. Then, hey, go to the models. What is the model name? It's called user. So this is how you will read this. Inside the users app, go to the models files. What is the name of the class that I will override the original user model? It's called user. So if this was called Polo, you will come here, create a Polo class. Okay. So this class will now override the default user model, but I'm going to call it user. Hit enter, and I'm going to name this one also user. Yeah, let's start to work now. So from Django.auth.models import the abstract user. I'm going to extend this one because I need most of its properties as well. So I'm going to just extend it and modify it. So let's go there and actually check it out. We have this properties called the username field. It's username. This username field is the one used here to authenticate. Okay, so we need to override this one. So let's copy it. This is actually a very common theme that you will see yourself doing. You will go to the original code and check it out. I usually do this with Django. Of course, the documentation also helps. So this will be email. Okay. Now I'm gonna show you the code. I think I just got confused how I should show you this. I think I'll just show you the errors and I'll show you how we'll fix it, because this won't actually work. So let's start by running now the migrations because we don't have any of them, right? We just deleted our database. So Python manage. Let's actually see the migration first. Show migrations. Yeah, this is the first error. So the field name, username field for a custom user model must be included in the required fields. Hint, username field is currently set to email. You should remove the email from the required fields, what they are talking about. So if you go to the abstract user again, you'll see this username field. We changed this to be email. At the same time, it's here, and this is not required, or this is not valid. So what we need to do is to put this one and override it like this. So this is the first error will be resolved like this. The second one, the user.email must be unique because it's named as the username field. So by default, the emails are not unique. Actually, as you can see here, by default, the email is not unique. So we need to make it unique because we will validate the user based on it, right? I think this makes sense. So email will be equal models.email field. We'll give it blank false and unique to true. By the way, this models comes from here. Okay. So let's now show the migrations. Everything now will work. Or not. It should work. But we are not seeing migrations. Yes, because we need to generate a migration. They won't be generated automatically. My bad, sorry. So manage.py make migrations. As you can see, boom, we have this user's migration. Now show migrations, we have it here. So let's actually run that. Python manage migrate. Everything went nice. Let's create a super user and log in with it. But first, if you hit refresh, sorry, if you hit just refresh, we need to run the server. Python manage.py on server. Refresh. As you can see, this now is email. So let's create our super user to authenticate with it. Python manage by create super user. Email test@test.com. Secret yes, this will give us an error. Why? Because hey, the username is required, but we don't have it when you submitted the data. This is because our required fields are empty. So I should add here the username. I hope this was like clear or at least understandable. But if you go to the abstract user class, you will see that by default, the username field is username. The required fields are email. And what we did here, we just swapped them. Hey, I want to use the email to authenticate the user with the password, of course, not the username. But at the same time, our username is still required, and because we added empty like list, nothing is required now. So when we're creating a super user, this will actually be empty. So it won't ask us for the username. It will break because the username is required. I hope this was easy. So, but there's an alternative solution to this. As you can see, the username should be unique, and yeah, it should be unique, which means it should not be null, right? And we can override this, but I'm gonna leave it like this. I need the username. You can override it like this. So models.char field nullable or null equal true, blank equal no, blank, which means empty string blank. Okay, null equals no true, and that's it. But I need it, so I'm gonna leave it like this. That's it. So create super user test@test.com username. Now it's asking us about the username. Previously it was not. Secret, yes, bypass, and that's it. So, oops. Test@test.com secret. That's it. Yeah, I hope this video is I think it's very long, but yeah, we actually did it. We override the default user model in Django. We learned what migrations are. We implemented JWT authentication. We actually achieved so much. So yeah, I hope this was useful, and bye bye.